Mr. Nice, in which Rhys Ifans, is it Ifans or Ifans?
Rhys Ifans.
As he said it, stars as Howard Marks, who, by his own admission and by legal, I think he's a drug dealer, part-time spy, now turned loose stand-up performer. So the story is, I mean, it's based on a true story. It's actually based on his own memoir. Grows up in Wales, gets a place in Oxford, goes to Oxford, success goes completely to his head. Next thing you know, he gets involved in drug dealing, gets involved with the IRA, he's running drugs around the world, he's being louche and, a crazed womanizer, but has a sort of get-out-of-jail-free card because at some point early on, he is sort of recruited, possibly, as a British spy. Here's a clip.
Are you asking me to be a spy?
Howard, I haven't just turned up on your doorstep without doing my research. Will you help us?
How can I help you?
We need people to gather information for us.
Bloody hell, you are. You're a spy. Howard, keep it down.
This is not a James Bond movie.
Well, it certainly feels like it. You're recruiting me. You're asking me to be a member of MI6.
Well, the government doesn't ever officially acknowledge the existence of what you call MI6. However, we do need to keep abreast of things, and we do employ a loose network of people who do things for us. You travel in circles we can't penetrate. We just might need your help. Sort of a patriotic thing, old chap.
And I imagine this would give me a certain amount of protection.
So, on the one hand, on the good side, what you have is Rhys. I mean, it's not that much of a stretch, right? Rhys Ifans is playing a intoxicated, womanizing vagabond Lothario who
is that what he does?
Well, that's what he plays. And you think, yeah, and he's Welsh, and so how hard is that going to be? But did any of you see that thing when he played Peter Cook in Not Only But Also on television, which I actually thought was a brilliant performance, a really, really well judged performance. And what he does here, I mean, it's interesting if you compare what he does here to what, for example, Michael Sheen does when he's playing Tony Blair or when he's playing Brian Clough or any of those things. There's that whole thing about you don't imitate somebody. What you do is you do a performance. It's not an impression. It's a proper performance. And actually, I think Rhys Ifans' central performance is very fine. Chloe Sevigny is his long-suffering partner who spends an awful lot of the film saying, please don't do this. Please stop the drug trafficking. Please stop doing it. With whom one has an awful lot of sympathy, although she does sort of somewhat struggle with the accent. And Christian McKay is there, who was great in Me and Orson Welles, which is the Zac Efron film before, actually, in which I thought Zac Efron also did very, very well. The problem with it is it's directed by Bernard Rose, who directed Candyman, Ivan's Ecstasy, Kreutzer Sonata. And the problem with the film is that because it's essentially based on Marx's own version of his own story, it is, by its very nature, hagiographic. I mean, what it's saying to us is he's a lovable character, he's a lovable rogue. Yes, he's an international, drugs, all that sort of stuff, but, hey, he's on the right side. And it requires an awful lot of sympathy to go, yeah, fine, of course, everything's lovely. Because when people are saying, you really shouldn't be doing this. No, you really shouldn't be doing this. Genuinely, you really probably shouldn't be doing this. There's a voice that's been going, yeah, no, you shouldn't be doing this. How long have I been here? The other thing is that there's a strange device in it in which the characters are put into period setting by taking old film of streets in the 1960s and digitally putting them into it. And I genuinely couldn't understand whether the effect of them being digitally placed into the old footage was creaky on purpose in a way that kind of made it look like some strange performance piece. I mean, you think, for example, of Andy Serkis in Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, in which the whole thing is staged as a sort of cabaret performance, and they've got those animated sequences that are deliberately unnatural, or whether it actually just wasn't that good. I think what you have in the end is a very good performance by Rhys Ifans. You have some fairly solid support. You've got David Thewlis playing this incredibly unpleasant, loud, foul, really horrible IRA guy who's, spouts one thing but behaves in another. When actually David Thewlis, when he's on screen, pretty much threatens to dominate the screen and to knock Rhys Ifans out of the central position. But in the end, the story is in love with its subject matter, which is kind of unsurprising, isn't as interesting as the extraordinary details of the story would seem to imply, and is, I hate to say it, a television movie in a way that, oddly enough, the television movie Not Only But Also wasn't. You go and see it for Rhys Ifans' performance. You don't go and see it, I think, as a brilliant piece of cinema. And if you have any sense that actually, doing all this stuff may not be the most brilliant thing to do in the whole world, your patience will wear thin.